to the Army Intermediate Staff School called the Command and General Staff College. It was a nice year, nice break after 3 years with my nose to the grindstone and not being able to fly airplanes. When I finished staff school, I went reassigned to the F4, went down to Homestead Air Force Base again to learn how to fly the Phantom all over, which I did, and went back to Nellis Air Force Base to the Combat Wing, 474 Attack Fighter Wing was there.
You want to catch up with some of these
pitches here? This is my champagne flight at Kadena, Okinawa. Your last flight at a base before you go PCS, called your champagne flight. I don't remember who this guy was. Dave Brooks was a good friend of mine. He and I were flight commanders. And you can see the champagne bottle in my right hand back there. This was my squadron at Luke, 426th Tactical Fighter Training Squadron. And this Tactical Air Command headquarters, TAC doesn't exist anymore, they call it Air Combat Command now. And this is me transition, just newly transitioned to the F-16. Love that airplane. I made Lieutenant Colonel while I was there, or just before I got there. And when you get that much rank on you, they don't let you stay in the squadron very much, unless you're an ops officer or something, commander. So I had 2 or 3 different spots on the wing staff, and then I also flew with all 3 squadrons at one time or another. I'll tell you an exciting story about the electric jet. We call it the electric jet. The guys today call it the Viper. I was an instructor pilot, and I was doing instructor pilot duties one day with a youngster in the 428 squadron. And we're not supposed to wander at night. And we took off from Nellis with 2 F-16s, single-seaters, me doing chase position on it, and flew a high-speed, low-level nav route down to the North TAC range on Goldwater Range just west of Gila Bend. And I chased him. He did a really good job. The navigation was good. He came in, did a simulated nuke delivery, and I scored his bomb, his little practice bomb. And then I fanned out behind him on downwind. We were going to go out and come back again, and I was going to drop second time through. But just as I rolled out on downwind, doing about 400 knots, about 1,500 feet up, the engine in my airplane goes, decelerates like a bandit, scared the hell out of me. I looked over and checked all the gauges, and everything is unwinding. So, in a voice about 3 octaves higher than my normal manly tone, I shout the Mayday, 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 Mayday. And zoom the airplane up. I do it 400 knots, you can get a good bit of zoom out of it. I went from 1,500 up to just over 5,000 feet. Turned back toward the Gila Bend auxiliary field. If I could have glided that far or got the engine restarted, I was going to land it over there. Screwed up. I forgot to punch off the tanks. I would have gone higher if I punched off the tanks. And I tried a couple of restarts, and she didn't restart. And I knew in my heart it weren't going to. Whatever it killed, it was going to keep it dead. So, at 210 knots, which is glide speed on the F-16, I pushed the nose over, picked up 210 knot glide. And pretty soon I'm back down to 2,000 feet. And the book says if you're at 2,000 feet and the engine's dead, punch out. So I did. I reached down between my legs and I grabbed that little yellow handle and I go, yank! And nothing happened. For 1 eternal millisecond. Then the canopy blew off, and 30mm cannon shell in the base of that seat fired, scooted me up the rails, and as the airplane clears the cockpit, it's got a rocket pack underneath that deploys, squirts you another 200 feet in the air. So everything worked. When you're at that altitude and that airspeed, you pull that handle, you can die right there, and it will put you under a Blossom parachute. It's all automatic from that point on. So I heard some of my buddies talking about how they punched out of the F-16, and they saw the airplane as they go up the rails of the seat. They saw the airplane receding away, not me. When I pulled that handle, my eyes went squinch. And when I finally got them open after under the parachute and everything, I see this dark object off in my peripheral vision about 20 feet away. What it was the seat, because the seat man separation thing had operated automatically to separate me from the seat, put me on the Blossom parachute. It was a beautiful day. Hit the ground gently, and the chute just spread out behind me. I reached up and undid the clips so that if the thing inflated with the wind, it wouldn't drag me across all the cactus. And there was a helicopter. They always kept a Huey down at Gila Bend Auxiliary Field when the ranges were for just such situations as this. And screwed up again because just before I punched out, I said, I'm near range 3. I I wasn't, I was near range 4. But when that airplane hit the desert and exploded and that column of smoke come up, everybody knew where I was. And I heard the chopper pilot say, "I see where he's at." 10 minutes after I hit the ground, I was climbing into that chopper. I wasn't hurt at all. A few black and blue marks where the harness slapped me when the chute popped. Took me over to the Loop Air Force Base Hospital, and I spent all night there. They come in every 2 hours and wake you up, check all your vital signs, make sure nothing strange is going to happen. And the next morning, base bird came from Nellis and took me home. Well, my next assignment was at Kunsan Air Base in Korea. I was the wing and air base chief of safety, and I flew as a mission-ready instructor pilot on the F-16 with the 80th Fighter Squadron. Should have an 80th patch there. Back to the Wolfpack. I served in the Wolfpack twice. Good outfit. This is the 80th Squadron. They're also known as the Juvats because their motto is Audentis Fortuna Juvat, which means fortune favors the bold. And fighter pilots, you know, they're so dumb, their eyebrows meet in the middle, their foreheads are high. They call themselves Juvats, which really means fortunate, I guess. After that, I went to my last assignment on active duty, which was the regular Air Force advisor to the Swamp Foxes. I was also in the Juvat Boy Squire while I was in Kunsan. Got assigned to the Swamp Foxes as the Reg Aff Air Advisor. Great job, great bunch of guys, had a lot of fun. We went TDY to, about a year before I retired, TDY to Rigi Air Station in Norway for an exercise with the Northern European NATO countries. Rigi is near a city called Moss, spelled like moss, about 100 miles south of Norway. On the way back, I was leading flight of 4 of the airplanes redeploying back to South Carolina. And we were on the wing of a KC-135. We went over Labrador. And it's clear, but the clear air turbulence was just out of sight. And the wings on this big old KC-135 were flapping like a buzzard. I called up the aircraft commander. I says, "Hey, I don't think I've ever seen a tank do acro before." He was not entertained by my comment. Then I retired from the Air Force, and there should be a retirement picture there. My good buddy, I'd flown some combat missions with him in Vietnam, named Bill Kirk, 3-star commander of 9th Air Force at Shaw Air Force Base, South Carolina. Presented me my retirement flag. Great guy. Love him. We crossed paths again, but I'll tell you about that later. After I retired, I went and flew for an airline long enough to figure out I was not an airline pilot. So I got a job teaching Air Force Junior ROTC at Cactus High School down in Glendale. And was there for 5 years. That's where Miss Mary and I met. Then I got out of that business for 2 years. I was going to be a freelance writer. I was going to write the next all-American novel. I was going to be the next Tom Clancy. Well, in 2 years of freelance writing, I made $125. And I decided I needed a job. So I called the instructor managers at Maxwell. I said, "Book me work." And so I opened up the AZ-942 at Mojave High School, Bullhead City. And Mary and I lived and taught there for 10 years. Retired from that in 2004. I want to tell you a story about space shuttle. While I was in Glendale, I had a friend that had a little Cessna 150, and he used to let me fly it for $10 an hour and buy my own gas. He even toted the key to it. It's like owning my own airplane. And one day, I and my grandson, who was about, 6 or 8 years old at the time, were flying from Phoenix to Vegas, and we're up there north of Wickiup, about 8 or 10 miles, and I trimmed the airplane up, and he was playing hot rock and flying it. And I had my face buried in this Phoenix sectional. He punches me over the arm and said, "Grandpa, look out there. Look out at 10 o'clock, and there's the space shuttle." On the back of the 747. I think the previous slide showed that. Yeah, looked just like that. And they were climbing out. I said, "All right, guys." I took the airplane controls, and this guy crosses about 5,000 feet above us and about 5 miles out in a climb. He's climbing out of Palmdale, going back to Cape Canaveral for the next launch. So I rolled in behind him. He's doing 350 knots, and I'm going to run him down in this 150, doing 88 knots, right? But it was such an experience to have with your grandson. So I wrote a story about it, sold it in Private Pilot magazine. They paid me $75. So I took my proceeds and I went and bought a whole fistful of those magazines. Says, mementos. The next slide was the only other time that I saw this particular combination. I was TDY at Kelly Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. And I was out pre-flight my airplane, getting ready to leave, and trundling down the taxiway, here comes this guy. Everything stopped on that ramp. Everybody just stopped and stared, including me. It's just so huge and imposing. Well, anyhow, we retired from school teaching in 2004 over at Bullhead, and we moved to Chino Valley. And I told Miss Mary, we're not going to retire because people who retire die. So we became full-time musicians. Did some tours. This was taken to college, college tour we did up in California, doing on picking and real buddies. This is the cool, we play with the Cool Water Band here in Prescott right now. And we were entertaining out at Windmill Farms. And these are some of the guys in the band in this area. I produced 25 albums of military folk music, and there's about 20 of them listed there. And I've done 5 books. These 2 books contain the lyrics to my songs and some other songs too. I will copyright about 115 songs. And I also have the war stories that go with the songs. These 3 books I just published, they're my philosophical memoirs. I've been keeping a diary since 1972. And I published the first 3 books last year and earlier this year. I'm working on book 4 right now. Tomorrow, when we get together, we will focus not so much on me, but on the war in Vietnam. And I'll talk about some of the missions that were flown. We'll talk about some of the great heroes of the Vietnam War, guys who got the Medal of Honor and so forth. Please feel free anytime to stop me after the bell's about to ring. But if you have any questions, I can stick around now.
I just have 2 questions right now, sir. How many planes in your entire career did you shoot down?
I never, the only fight I got in was the one I told you about a while ago, where we shot 3 missiles off of my airplane and missed all 3 times.
That was it?
That was it.
What's the most prestigious medal you received, sir?
The Distinguished Flying Cross for your wisdom. And I'll tell you about that mission probably tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
I think you might have told me before.
Sir, in the combat experience that you had, the plane that was hit with the missile, and your kind of own perspective, would you rather have the enemy bail out, or would you have hoped that he would have been killed in that?
No, I only want to destroy his airplane. Fighter pilots are cowards. They're back shooters. The way you kill an airplane in flight is you sneak up behind him and you shoot him with a big bullet or a big missile, and then you run like heck. Yeah.
You said you served in the 8th Tactical Fighter Wing, right?
Yes.
Did you ever know or meet Robin Olds?
Yes. When I first got to Yukon on my combat tour, he was the wing commander. And we overlapped about a month. He left shortly thereafter. But then I kept running across him at reunions of old combat units and stuff like that until he passed away. In fact, when he passed away 3 or 4 years ago, Mary and I went up to Colorado Springs, the Air Force Academy, for his funeral. Great dad, great combat leader. Meaner than the devil himself. But when you're going to war, you know, that's the kind of guy you want to go with. Somebody you trust.
All right, can MPD March come over here and give a round of applause, please?
Flight, Hudson, Hut, dismissed.
Go do great things!
Hey, Colonel.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for holding the field, let me do it.
Colonel.
Turn it off, you sir.